The opinions and views expressed by individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of this network, their group, or other organization they may be involved with.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Thursday Sesh. I'm just going to get more comfortable here. Yeah, Nova Scotia's going through rain today, so I've been inside all day and just avoiding it. It's been like nonstop rain. Pretty sure my house has got a full-on moat around it, but that's all right. I'll deal with that tomorrow when it's supposed to stop. So today's been a rainy day here. Before I start rolling, I will say, okay, so I'll give you an update on what's going on with my closet. So there's been some changes of plans here, and I'll explain a little bit. So this week, when some of my friends actually came by and saw my setup, and specifically a couple of them that came by and seen it, they were really impressed by it. They were really fucking happy. They were like, oh my God, this is cool. But they asked me to do them a favor. And of course, this is the time of year where I have to do it. They asked me if I could start some seeds for them in it. So I have 3 or 4 friends that all kind of, because I've been known for years to do cloning. So that's why, you know, it's kind of like a yearly thing. Well, I'll get a certain amount of people that ask me to do clones for them. And I did it for years before when I was growing indoors. So I was always growing indoors, and then I had a lot of friends that did outdoor grows in the summer. So they would get me to do a bunch of clones for them, and of course I always had a mother going on because I had an indoor grow. So I kind of became notorious around these parts for doing clones. And then I moved away for 5 or 6 years. I moved away to the city. And then I came back, and since I've come back in the last 3 years, it's kind of like each year I get a few more people ask, hey, can you help me out? And of course, now doing the podcast, people, you know, see my podcast that I know that are my friends on here, because this gets displayed to my personal page. And then when they see me talking and stuff, they start asking, you know, so it's kind of snowballed where people are starting to ask me even earlier this year because they've seen my hydro setup for the vegetables. And like I said, I actually had 2 friends come in and saw it, and they're like, oh my God, this is really cool. Hey, can you start some seeds for me? So instead of, which I was originally going to do, was start some vegetable seeds in there, and do the hydro lettuce and stuff. I still want to do that, but I have a very small window of time where I can start plants, cannabis plants for outdoors. So I'm going to do my first round, and I know how to grow cannabis, so maybe it would be a good thing for me to start my seeds in this hydro system and just kind of get to know it. Although I don't think it's going to be much different growing in that than my aero garden, other than I have more plant sites, right? Only at 24, and that little one, this is 108. So I've changed the plans a little bit. I'm not going to completely fill it with lettuce. I'm going to do a round of seeds, because I was thinking about just doing one level of seeds, like 36 plants, because each level is 36, has 36 sites. There's 3 sites to it. I was thinking about just doing one level, but when I start seeds, these aren't feminized seeds. So I don't know how many are going to turn out male and how many are going to turn out female. So I'm just going to start a shitload. I'm just going to start. I have a bunch of seeds here. I have some really nice strains, but they're not feminized. But I didn't pay for them. Like, they're seeds that I've had that were given to me, and it's a nice strain. And I had grown mothers last year and hooked some people up with some clones. Now, mind you, it's not a business, but it's just, I have a close to 5 or 6 friends that really do rely, on other people to get them clones, because they just don't know enough about growing to start from seed and all that. And starting from seed can be really fucking tedious. Like, learning how to sex your plants can be a little bit of a tedious thing if you don't know what you're looking for. Once you learn it, but I mean, I've had plants where I thought I've sexed them and then they come out as male later. So sexing plants and all that fun stuff. You also have to have a spot to grow. Like, if you want to start from seed, you're gonna have to have a dedicated spot right now to grow and start your mothers or start your seedlings now. Or, you know what I mean? Like, so there's a lot of people that just don't have the area or the space to start seeds this early. And of course, I've been afforded. I'm going to start rolling. Oh no, I got one pre-rolled here for the 710. Okay. I have the space, so that's going to be my little bit of a change up in plan. Is I waited for the seeds because they asked. I said, sure, why not? And there's a couple really cool strains that my friends want me to start. So it's going to be kind of cool because I will get obviously some new strains brought into my growth through this. I have 3 strains myself. They're not feminized seeds. Blue Turban, Blueberry Forest, and I can't remember the other one. It's labeled in there. And I have about 50 of each. So I have those, but they're not feminized. And so again, it's hit or miss when I start them, how many females I'm going to have. So I think I'm just going to start a shitload of them. Like, I have 108 grow sites. So I'm thinking about starting 108 seedlings right now because I only have so much time to get them going. I don't think I want to do any cloning this year. I might off like a few of the selects. Like, so a friend of mine, he's bringing me like this boughten seeds. He's got 5 of these pineapple chunk strain. And that's what kind of started this. He came by and he was like, look, I've got these seeds. Only got 5 of them. They're feminized. Those ones are feminized. He's like, I got these 5 feminized pineapple chunk seeds. I'm sorry, there's 4 in there. 4 feminized seeds, but I got no way of starting them. You've got the system. Can you start, and you can keep the mothers, and maybe we'll make some clones off those ones. So I probably will clone off those feminized ones. But these other seeds that I have, these 3 other kinds, I just don't feel like growing mothers and cloning out of them. So I'm thinking about just starting a bunch of seedlings this year, because my normal route for growing outdoors is to have a mother, start them really early, and then clone off them in May for outdoor grow. And I just don't know if I feel like doing all of that this year, because I have to set up I have a 600 watt, well, it's a dimmable light, so it goes from 600 to 1200 watts. I can turn it up or down. I have that, but I would have to set up my whole room upstairs, my mother room and all of that. And I could do that for 1 or 2 plants. I just don't want to set it up for that many plants. So I'm thinking start a bunch of seedlings in this, get those started for outdoor, because I can take those. I have it's happy 710, everybody. I've got my pre-roll, so happy 710. Right. I was smoking a half a joint before I started, so I just put it out. And I was like, okay, I'll just put it out and start the show. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking about doing, because once I get them started to a certain point and they're a certain amount of height, I can just transplant them, and I have a back sunroom deck area that I've set up. So I can put them right out there early and let them start out there. So I'll semi-start them here, and then once they get to be, about that tall, then I can plant them into smaller planters for out and put them outdoors in that back room into like a little, I don't know yet. I've changed, but I have these seeds sitting here. I might as well use them, because I mean, seeds only sit around for so long before, they degrade kind of to a point, right? Like there's seeds that will pop after being stored for so many years, but every year you're losing a chance. You know what I mean? Like, Also, and then on top of that, my friend from Aquagenetics, which is who I got my autos from last year, my auto seeds, which I had a lot of fun growing, he contacted me last week and was like, hey, do you want some seeds this year? So he actually sending those out to me this week. So I'm going to have, I don't know exactly how many seeds because it's always like kind of like a surprise thing. But he said that I think he's going to send me at least 20 seeds. And those are feminized. They're feminized autos. So I'm going to start those, and I want to probably start those. Like, I do have a seed starter. It holds like 24 plants, but I don't want a whole bunch of setups. Like, it's just like I've already got that set up. It's already got water in it. It's already running. The lights are already in there. So why don't I utilize that for now and then start growing my lettuce after that? Because that's going to be an all year thing. I don't need those out for a certain time of year. I'm not putting the lettuce and the herbs outside. They're going to stay growing in there. So I don't have like an actual deadline for those. That's a business. Like, that is an expansion onto my food industry, kind of food hustle, whatever you want to call it. It's an expansion. It's just, it's something that I'm going to add on. So I really think, again, utilizing the small time frame that I have to get my stuff out ready for outdoor, I might as well utilize that area for that now. And again, my other seed starter is only 24 plants. I don't want to start just 24 seeds. Like, I don't want to do cloning this year. I don't want to have like 10 mothers up there upstairs. I would rather just start a shitload of seeds and people can put those outdoors. Because if I start them now, then there's plenty of time to sex them before they have to go outside in June. So that's why I decided maybe I should kind of revert my plan on what I'm going to put in there and when, because I only do have a small window of starting these seedlings and having them be big enough and sexed enough to be able to put outdoors in June. And like I said, I can move those once they're set up, and they don't have to be in that closet until June. They just have to be at the start, right? So I think that's what I'm going to do. I didn't go and throw a bunch of seeds in there yet because I didn't want to have to redo. I don't want to rush things. You know what I mean? Things are getting a lot warmer here right now. So that makes it a lot better at night because I don't want to be running my fucking heaters all night just to keep my water warm. I'm nulling out any money that I'm saving with electricity. So it's a little bit warmer now, so I can start my plants. But I do believe, like, I do want to do my outdoor grow. I really liked doing it last year. And now that I'm getting my autos, like, I wasn't expecting, I was thinking I was going to buy some. And then when we got a hold of each other, and I had to do some tech work for his website. I had to do some like technical support to help him transfer a domain and stuff. So he was like, what do you want? I was like, just send me some seeds. I was like, I don't want cash, send me seeds. So now I got some autos that I wasn't planning on having, which is great. I was thinking about buying some regardless, but I was kind of like on the fence because they're not cheap. It's like $35 for 3 or 5 seeds. And I mean, okay, yeah, I get it. I get that, when you're growing that, what you're paying, you're getting a good plant from it. But I was just on the fence whether I was going to go spend $100 on auto seeds this year or not. So getting them in barter for doing tech support work makes it even sweeter, right? Like, so I'm getting a package sent to me because of this tech support work now this year. So now my auto kind of that also, and I have to say that he had a website ordering, the way that he had the website ordering set up was really annoying. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't order off his site. Now he's actually changed how he's got the ordering. So it's actually easier. So obviously probably wasn't the only one that was really annoyed with how he had you had to put in all your payment information before you even looked at any of the catalog. And you couldn't just pay, like, I couldn't remember, but I just remember going on the site going, this is just fucking too much effort. Like, I can't even just go and look at the seeds beforehand. And then I thought about buying from other sites, but I just don't know. Like, I don't know if I'm going to get good money, good product. I don't even know if these sites are legit. And then when I'm looking at the prices of feminine seeds, like they're like $90 to $100 for 3 of them, and on some of these sites. So I'm just like, oh, like, do I really want to spend that much money on? I do have fun growing my autos. I do. I just didn't know if I wanted to justify spending that much money on seeds this year when I have 150 of these photos that I need to grow. The other thing is that I don't smoke I did my autos. I did smoke my auto buds. They were nice. But a lot of the bud that I grow outdoors, I turn right into oil. So it's like, do I really want to spend all that money on cannabis that I'm going to grow outdoors and then just make into oil? If I had my full setup to grow indoors, then I probably would have just went and bought them, because the autos are amazing for growing indoors. They're growing indoors or outdoors. Like, I loved growing mine outdoors too. It's just that it's not my focus. My focus isn't growing weed to smoke. So I don't pay as much attention. I've got rolled one up for 420, but I still got this fucking one going. So we'll just put that out so I can spark that back up again. It's got really good oil in it, so it takes forever to burn. It's my own oil that I make myself, actually. So yeah, like, that was the reason being, is so, like, if you were growing your weed to smoke, yeah, spending the money on the feminized seeds and the autos are worth it, because you get what you're getting on that plant is worth whatever price that you're paying for that seed, 20 or 30 bucks. And even if it's 20 or 30 bucks for the one seed, the autos, if you're growing them to smoke weed, if you're growing it to smoke and you're paying really good attention, because autos need you to pay attention to them, especially at the beginning stages. So if anybody's like curious about growing autos are fucking fun to grow, but you need to know what you're doing. The reason being is that everything happens so fast compared to a photo. So photos, if anybody doesn't know the difference, and then maybe I'll just give you this little lesson now for anybody that doesn't know the difference between a photo and an auto. A photo matures by the light cycle. So a photosensitive plant will go into bud stage when it has a certain amount of light. So it goes by the season. So as the days shorten, it will go into bud. So when you're growing indoors with a photo, you start out with a long day cycle, long light cycle, 18 hours is what you first start at. And when you grow it to a certain size, when you get it to a certain size that you like, then you switch it to a 12 hours. And once you switch it to 12 hours, that triggers the plant to go into bud phase. So photos are really good if you don't know what you're doing, because if you fuck up that, you can't really fuck up the beginning stages, because any mistakes that you have, if you under fertilize them, or you just about kill them because you forget about to water them, all of that shit can be corrected because you just keep it under the 18-hour light until it gets healthy again. So you can keep, like, that's how people keep mothers, is to keep it under an 18-hour light. It won't go to bud. It will just stay the cannabis plant and won't go to bud. It will just stay as a plant. So that's how people keep mothers is, oh, happy 420, everybody. I've got my half a joint here still going. So for anybody that's kind of wondering about what the difference is and just didn't know, or maybe didn't get dumbed down and clarified over like technical terms, that's the difference. Is photos you can play with. If you mess them up and under fertilize them, if they're not growing as big as you like, you just expand on that vegetative cycle by just keeping it under an 18-hour light. And if you want to keep that plant strain and not go to bud and continue to clone off of it constantly, you have to keep it under 18-hour light. I think I've never done 24-hour light, but I've heard rumors people can do 24-hour light. Mine's 18-hour cycle. I like to give the plant a chance to rest, just like a human. It does need a dark cycle. I have heard that people keep them under 24-hour light as well. So I've never played with the 24-hour light cycle. So 18 hours is what I normally keep it under for a photo until I'm ready to bud. When I'm ready to bud, then I switch it to a 12-hour light. So when you have them outside, they automatically go into bud phase in late summer as the day cycles start to shorten and you get more dark. So that's photo. Autos, on the other hand, will automatically go to bud, no matter what the fucking light cycle is, no matter what the whatever it is, the temperature, whatever. They just automatically go to bud. So you can have, and I remember back in the day when I was growing, before autos were like a known thing, we only grew photos. Like that was all that, that what I have ever known. And that's like the original strain. I think autos are a hybrid or like genetically modified somehow to make them autos, or like it was bred from one strain. I don't know exactly where autos originally come from, but they weren't known to at least Canada or like this area for growing. It was always photos. So that was what I was used to growing for years. And then it was called North Mountain Thunderfuck was the name of the strain. I'm pretty sure that was the name of it. This was years ago. And it confused us all growers because it was an auto. And no matter what you fucking did with this shit, it was going to bud. And that was before we knew what autos were. So we were confused. We're like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, I was growing multiple strains at the time. So I knew it wasn't anything I was doing wrong because my other plants were fine. It was this little weird plant that would go to bud. So we knew, like, it wasn't anything we were doing wrong. It was obviously the genetics of the plant. And so that was my first experience with an auto years ago. So autos, like I said, will automatically bud no matter what you do. So they are tricky in the sense that if you don't know what you're doing at the beginning stages, in that vegetative stage, their vegetative stage is so short and that it happens so fast that if you fuck anything up in those beginning stages, you don't have time to recuperate like you do with the photos. So that's why photos, if you're a beginner grower and you've never grown cannabis before, you might want to go with photos. They take a lot longer. They take upwards to 3 to 4 months to go from seed or clone to finish. So it takes a while. And that's the one thing that I don't like about photos is that like you're just watching your plants every day and you're just like a kid at Christmas, like, and Christmas is 4 months away. Like it can be a little frustrating, but watch the process. But when you're novice to the process, like when I first started growing, it was fun, right? Like it was fun. So if you're a novice grower, you may want to start with photos because of that, especially if you're just starting out and you're spending good money on seeds. You might want to start with a photo strain because you can get feminized photos. They're really easy to grow. You can get them with short growing like weeks on them too. Like they've done a lot of breeding and they do have different breeds that don't take as long to finish as others do. So if you're a beginner grower, I would suggest starting with photos because again, where the starting of that plant up until the flowering stage, you have room, you have some wiggle room to correct any mistakes that you made. If you over fertilized, under fertilized, didn't start them right, all of that fun stuff, you have time to kind of correct any of those mistakes. So I started my autos last year, and it was the very first time that I'd ever worked with autos knowing what they were growing. And I was super shocked on how fast that stage went for me, right? And I ended up getting a pretty decent haul, but I neglected them at the beginning because not neglected them, but I made some mistakes. My big one is that I started like a whole bunch of photos, a whole bunch of autos, and then all my vegetables all at once, and just trying to like keep them all watered, and all of that. Like I had a couple of times when they were a little dried out. So my photos probably could have been quite a bit bigger if I had just babied them in that stage a bit more. I got good bud off them, but they were shorter than I think. And I had one or two that were quite a bit taller. So obviously they got a little bit more love, or they didn't go through the problems the other ones did. So what I want to do this year is kind of start things staggered and not all at once like I did last year. Last year I started everything all at once. I had 2 grow lights upstairs. I have 2 of those 600 watts, like I said, that flipped to 1200. I have 2 of those growing upstairs, and then I had my seed starter down here, and I was just pounding them. My seed starter does 24 plants at a time. So I was doing rounds in the seed starter, letting them root in there, and then putting them upstairs. And I did rounds of photos, and then I did rounds of autos, and then I did rounds of vegetables, but I did them all like within days of one another. And when everything was taking off, it was too much for me to maintain. Like I started running out of space in my fucking house, and it was too cold to put them outside yet, and I didn't have a greenhouse then. So this year, I'm obviously going to learn from my mistakes and stagger things a bit more. And so that I'm not stuck with like 200 fucking plants upstairs in my closet waiting for it to get warm enough to put half them outside. So again, now I've kind of got to, I wasn't planning on starting a whole bunch of seeds in this hydro system. I was planning on just doing the lettuce. But when I had a couple friends ask me, and they were like, can you, and I'm really interested, like, that's the autos that I have that I'm going to start in here. And then I've got the pineapple chunk. And then my other friends bringing me over 3 or 4 different kinds of seeds. I don't even know what strains I'm getting yet. And then I have my 3 strains that I grew now. So another reason why I want to do this is the strains that I have. There's been some various results in them. Like I had a couple people that grew the clones that had great results. I didn't have the greatest results, but I mean, I only grew mine for oil, so it really didn't matter. I mean, it was decent. I just thought they could be better. But then I had a couple of my friends say, oh, fuck, man, ours took right off. So I'm thinking that maybe I just didn't, maybe I need to baby these ones a little bit more than I should have, because the ones that, these guys that did baby and put them in a greenhouse, they were like, oh yeah, they were great. They were like fucking taller than us. So maybe I just neglected mine too much, like, and they just didn't take off, which is fine, because again, I just grow my shit for oil. I don't grow it for the bud, so I'm not going to try to take a shitload of time trying to grow it for the bud. I just put them outside and let them kind of grow with my rest of my garden, like with my vegetables and stuff. I don't fuss over them. I'm a different type of grower. But this year, one of the other reasons why I wanted to start from seeds, I'm wondering if the straight seed plants won't grow better than the clones, because what I did last year was I started mother plants about this time of year, a little bit earlier than this. And then I was cutting the clones in May and then letting them root and getting them out by June. What I want to do this year, because I have so many of these seeds too, like I literally have at least 50 or 60 of each kind sitting here. So I was thinking, and then I have these other seeds that are coming that I need to start. And then I have my friends that want me to start seeds. So I'm thinking, why don't I try starting some right from seed and growing them, not the clones, but growing those. Instead of trying to clone off them in June, start seeds and just grow seeds instead of doing cloning this year. Like I said, the pineapple chunk, I am going to keep a mother of the feminized seeds. I do want to do that. And maybe 1 or 2 of these other strain seeds that my friends bring, and I can set that up. But the 3 that I have, the non-feminized seeds, I don't think I want to do a clones of them again this year. For the reasons why I don't know. I don't know. I really don't want to clone again this year, but it seems like I'm going to like be not forced into it, but persuaded into it, because people want me to start these seeds for some because they don't want to do it themselves. Starting seeds is actually easier than people think, but I think it's more like you need to have the setup and you need to have the area to do it. And I just happen to have that, and I'm the type of person that can't really say no. Like, this is my cousin that, my cousin was the one that brought me over the pineapple chunks. How am I going to say no to my fucking cousin and start helping them start seeds, right? Like, the plants are going to go to my fucking family. Like, most likely it's going to be him and my uncle that are going to get them. So I'm just like, yeah, I want to fucking, do that. And then once that round comes out, then I'll start my lettuces and my herbs in there. Not start it all at once like I tried to do last year. So I'm just going to start the cannabis, let those get good and big. Because like I said, once I get to be a certain degree this year, one big difference from last year to this year is my back sun deck. I didn't have that last year. That was one of the reasons why I got it built, was so that I had the ability to be able to put the plants outside. Last year I built a little makeshift, a little bit of a greenhouse out of an old playground because it was sitting there and I needed to do something with it anyway. So I did like throw a tarp up, but that got destroyed come wintertime. I knew that was going to happen. That's why I only threw a tarp up there, because it wasn't any, like, it was already on its way out. It was a wooden fucking play area that was built, but it wasn't strong enough to support the kids anymore. There was cracks in the actual beams, but it was too big and too cumbersome at that point to take down by myself or pay anybody to take down. So I just converted it to like a little mini greenhouse for the time being until I had time to deal with it. And then this winter, we had a huge, like, pretty big windstorm, and it hit, like, I thought my fucking parts of my house were gonna blow off. Like, honestly, like, it was fucking hitting the side of my house really hard. And when that happened, it actually snapped the beams on that playground and broke it in half. So that was like the final piece, or the final straw, for me to be able to finally put my hands up in the air and say, okay, it's time to do something about this and to get it taken down. So I ended up this year getting a bunch of, like, I had that taken down, an old shed taken down, and a back porch and a front porch all taken and removed from the proper, like, I have the wood, I refurbed the wood, but I had the structures taken down because they were all rotting and just not, the two decks that I had, the wood was just rotten. Like, they weren't serving a purpose anymore. The front deck was just taking up, like, it was old. It looked like from the 80s. It just really dated the house. It was freaking, like, rotting in the middle. Like, the rain kept coming down on it, and this one spot where the sun never really hits it, it's just constantly wet, and there was moss growing all over it. Like, I was like, time to go. So when that playground broke, that was like the call for me to finally hire somebody to come in and do demo work. So I got those two taken off, these two rotting decks. The back playground got taken down, and an old shed got taken down. And any wood that could be refurbed is actually sitting in my backyard and going to be refurbed into, like, I'm rebuilding into planters, like the big raised garden planters, a lot of that wood, because even though there was still a lot of wood that wasn't rotten, but it just not good enough for a new structure. But for planter boxes, fucking A, right? So I've got a lot of wood now that was basically useless as it was, that I can reuse to build into a raised garden. So I got that, number one. And number two, that was the person that came and did all the demo work for me. We were able to use most of the structure from the shed, because the shed wasn't rotten. It was just not finished, and it wasn't built well, but the materials that it was built out of was still in good shape. Okay. So the materials weren't garbage. It was just the shed wasn't, multiple reasons why the shed should not exist. So when he demoed that down, we recouped a lot of the wood, and we were able to rebuild a back sun deck with a real roof over on my back door. And now I have a 6 foot by 12 foot area that I'm able to move my plants out to, that it's covered, that, come early spring, I don't have to worry about the chance of frost or anything. Like, it's enclosed. It's screened in right now, but I can easily put plastic, like, I'm going to put like a mini greenhouse inside of it, so that way frost won't get on any of my, like, I don't think they would now because it's a roof, but just to be sure and kind of keep in that sun heat from the day a little bit better, I just take a little mini greenhouse, pop back there for the spring, and then I can now actually have room when I do start my plants to put them straight out into the greenhouse and let them go there until June, when they can go fully outside. Last year's system just didn't work, where I had the seeds starting down here, and then I was moving them upstairs to the grow lights to sit up there and grow until they could go outside. But there was just, I ran out of room. I was running these two large grow lights. It was fucking hot up there. My electricity, like, I just didn't see it as being efficient when I'm trying to grow my fucking food and my cannabis to save money. If I'm spending all kinds of money on electricity, then I'm not fucking saving it. Like, and I don't mind keeping one mother upstairs. That's fine, or a couple mothers underneath my 600 watt. But having two full grow lights, they were going at 1,000 watts a piece. I had 20 fucking photos, 20 autos, and then like 100 different fucking plant seedlings for my garden all in one closet. That was too much. That was way too much. I just, like I said, so now I've got a transition room. I got this back sun deck that now I can put, like I said, that little greenhouse inside of, or just something like just a plastic in the area so that I don't, again, I have it screened in, but I still want to keep in a little bit more heat, I think. So with having the plastic mini greenhouse with inside of that part gives me some shelves to kind of put my seedlings in, number one, and also will kind of keep them a little bit warmer out there. They still won't be going out there until like late May, early June. So it's not like they're going to be out there in freezing temperatures. I may not need the little greenhouse. It may be warm enough just to be able to put them in the porch. Because from what I was told by like old gardeners and growers, that as long as the frost doesn't touch them and they're not sitting on the ground when it's cold outside, you're fine. So if the roof over, like it's a full roof, right? It's a full awning, like back sun porch. I don't think that the frost would really get on them there anyway. And maybe just a little bit of plastic on like the one wall where they might be sitting against where the screen is. Maybe, you know what? I just had a brain fart. I actually have a lot of the greenhouse plastic still left from when I did the makeshift greenhouse there. I still have it. When the things blew down, the canvas was fine. Like the actual tarp that I bought, it's like the green checkered plastic, greenhouse plastic. You've seen it. And listen, every mini greenhouse and fucking the planet's made out of it. I bought a big sheet of that. So probably what I'll do is I still have that folded up. I cover that, is probably just make like some like, you know, just a covering, like a little, even just a little mini. I don't have to buy a mini greenhouse, to tell you the truth. I could probably just do some of the materials that I have left from last year when I turned that playground into the little mini greenhouse. I bought the actual greenhouse plastic for it, and it never got ripped or torn during the windstorm. It was the beams, the wood beams that actually got broken. The plastic was fine. So I picked it up, folded it up, put it away. So yeah, I'll probably just use that and fashion something just to make sure that the cold air doesn't get straight onto the plants at night. But other than that, I'm like, I have now that room to actually put them outside, as opposed to trying to keep them in here. Even though I built the little mini greenhouse last year, I still didn't put anything out into it until June, because it was, I think it was halfway through June when I put anything in there, because it still was cold. Like it was still too cold. It was just a piece of plastic over an A-frame, like playground. Like it wasn't anything special. But now I have a full roof and it's right up against the house. So, you know, you don't have the wind coming from either side and the cold air coming from all areas like it was last summer when it was just a makeshift on the playground, right? Like that was the reason why I didn't put anything out. Although I could keep the frost off, I still was worried about the cold air up until halfway through June with that setup. So that's the reason why, because I said the cold air was still whipping across that area where the playground was. This year with the sunroom, you're not getting that. So will have the ability to probably put my plants out there, and not have that worry as I did last year. Because again, you'll see, like once it gets warmer, I'll be out showing you guys outside setup and stuff like that. And you'll see the difference. This is a full sunroom that's built in and framed in versus just a piece of plastic thrown over an old playground. Much different and much more stable, and there's no wind that's whipping across just the location where the playground was. It was way out in the open. Not way out in the open, but it was set further back, and when the wind kicks up, that's basically the wind tunnel blew. That's why it snapped the fucking playground in half, was because that area just gets the most force of the wind when I have a windstorm here. So that was one of the reasons, again, why I didn't put my plants out there in until late June, even though I had it plastic in it and it was a bit of a greenhouse. I was still worried about the cold air. So this year, again, I don't have that. I don't have to worry of the wind whipping across. It's in a completely different area in the yard. It's set right back onto my house, right off the back door. And like I said, it's a full roof, and it's framed in. So I'm not worried about that like I was last year. So again, if I set up a little mini greenhouse inside or just the plastic inside, it's still gonna be way warmer than the setup last year, and I'll probably be able to put stuff out there in early May is what I'm thinking. Because that's the only problem. What was the only problem was the temperature going down at night. I wasn't able to kind of control that. It was still getting really cold in there. Like I have tried to put some initial plants out there in early June, and no, they didn't like it at night. I had to bring them in at night, and I had to bring them into the kitchen at night because it was just still getting too cold at night for these poor little seedlings. So again, I got a different setup for this year. That was one of the reasons why I did that. So I'm going to let you guys go now because it is well past my time and I got some TV to watch. I don't know if you noticed any of my other posts. I bought myself a big 1 pound bag of cereal marshmallows. Oh my God, I'm like the younger kid, my inner kid come out of me. Like I haven't had these things since I was like Lucky Charms cereal. I remember when I was a kid, I told my son that I used to go and I used to sneak the box when my parents were at work, when my mom and my stepdad were at work. I used to sneak the box, pick all the fucking marshmallows out, eat all the marshmallows, and then put the box back in the cupboard. Mom caught me doing this multiple times and was like so mad at me. She stopped buying me fucking Lucky Charms because she's like, if you don't eat the cereal, you can't have the marshmallows. And I refused to eat the cereal. So when I saw that you could get the big bags of marshmallows, just like that inner kid come into me. Anyway, so I was munching on those all day, but I have Rice Krispie Squares made with them. So I had them sitting in the fridge, so I'm going to be shutting off so I can cut them and munch on them and watch some TV for night. It's starting the March break for my son, so we get to watch some TV and stay up late tonight because there's no school in the morning. So I'm going to let you guys go, and we will see you next Monday for the Ganja News update. I'm going to play the closer right now.
Are you a Northern Ontario resident searching for credible information on cannabis as a medicine? No Sir is here to help. Established in 2013, Northern Ontario Cannabis Education and Resources is here for you. No Sir Director Kim Cooper brings you 45 plus years experience utilizing cannabis as a medicine and is spreading the education across the North. Activism, resources, referrals, and more at No Sir. Don't be a jackass. Say no sir to cannabis propaganda with No Sir. Find us at www.nocer.ca. Advertising space available at NOK. Contact us for a rate sheet at NOKNetwork.com. Send us a message on our social media platforms or email us at info@NOKNetwork.com.